Hi, I'm Julia from Shortlisted Production. Today we have a guest speaker, Sier, who has a number of interesting roles. He acts as a fintech envoy for the North of England, which is an appointment by the Treasury. He is also a well-known authority on the pension funds. But today we're talking about his initiative to build a fintech innovation lab in Leeds. The question I have is about different types of incubators and accelerators.
Well, there's a few different models. So like take the Aviva garage in Hoxton, right? So that's an innovation space which is housing internal development teams and some external teams who are developing products and services for Aviva. So that's almost like a corporate innovation, corporate sandboxing environment, which is great. I mean, Aviva have got the right message. We need to solve consumer problems in a different way. The consumer wants something bigger and better from us. We've got to think about things differently. Fantastic. And they're using what everyone else has learned from innovation to try and solve those problems. Digital innovation, moving to be a digital company. And there are variations on that because some people have those innovation spaces for themselves. Some fund or sponsor other spaces. So Barclays Rise would be a case working with Techstars where they are funding companies that are being managed through an acceleration program by Techstars, and they get to see and play with these companies. They may or may not use the goods and services that are generated, but they certainly fund them. And then the third type is the independent one, like Startup Bootcamp, which is part of the Startup Bootcamp FinTech, which is part of the Startup Bootcamp Global Capacity, which is part of the Rainmaking Group, I think it is, which is run by a guy called Carsten Kohlbeck, a Danish guy who first started all of this. And they have another model whereby they offer cash and mentoring in exchange for something. I mean, there always has to be an exchange of goods and services here, which is either you're going to pay us cash to come here and we're going to make a margin on that, or we are going to take some equity from the company. I'm not fond of the equity model because I think it inflates the valuations of the companies. But currently, I think the most predominant model is to give people access to a program, Startup Bootcamp FinTech-like, in exchange for equity. And that's tough because I think you're looking at taking a bet on a company that probably is likely to fail because there's not many successes that come out of these things. So they have to be very good at picking those companies because the way they earn is part of the earn out of the company. It takes 6% of equity, I think it is. And then there's the other model, which is the mass challenge. And they are not working with financial services currently, but they work with other sectors. They provide a non-profit, non-equity based model, but they rely on sponsorship from industry, whichever sector that is, to run their startup challenges and then mentor people to the point of development. I haven't seen any that provide them with the technology, they just provide them with mentoring. So if you go along to any of those, there's no one who sits down there and mentors you in how to handle high performance computing, machine learning, AI, whatever it may be. No one will sit down there with you and say, this is how you need to think about this in a distributed ledger environment. It's up to you to go and find that yourself. So the differentiator between what I'm doing and what everyone else is doing is I'm providing people with not only industry mentoring, but I'm also providing them with all of that technology. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'm not taking equity. I don't want to take equity. I don't believe in equity. I think it undermines the drive of the entrepreneur. It's their company, right? Why should I have a share of it? Doesn't seem right to me. What am I adding? What's my value add? Why should I get a share of something that I'm not actually building myself? It doesn't seem right. At the beginning, the very beginning of the funnel, when you have an idea, but you haven't got a prototype, but you think you have a problem you want to solve. And what do you need? What tools do you need? You need contact with industry or with other parts of industry if you're from industry, and you need access to talent who can help you because you may be a pretty good entrepreneur, but you've no idea how to code, and you need access to tools. So platforms, the likes of high performance computing, big data analytics, distributed ledger capability. I mean, everyone's talking about distributed ledger or blockchain at the moment, but how do you use it? People will say, this is how you use it, but you need somebody to develop it for you. So how do you get access to all of that stuff? So we're building a lab in the north of England, in Leeds, specifically to give people the opportunity to interact in that way with industry, with capability, and with tools and techniques. How do you interact with it? Well, it's pretty easy. You come to us with your idea, and we have a capacity. So at some point, pre-capacity, people will be allowed in. Obviously, I mean, there's a fee you have to pay because we have to pay rents, we have to pay staff costs, and so on. But we're not looking for profitability. So the people who run the company, own the company, me and my business partner, we're not looking to have retained earnings that we have as dividends and profitability. It is a non-profit organisation, but that doesn't mean it's non-revenue. But once you pay that fee, then you get access for a period of time, and we're looking at a 3-month period where you get access to a desk within the facility, you get access to all of the other people within that facility who have the same zeitgeist and enthusiasm that you do. That's a very important component of it. But really important, you get access to industry mentoring, you get access to the tools and platforms that you need, and you get access to resource, all as part of this fee. Now, the reason why I've chosen 3 months is that from the point of idea through to the point of prototype, normally can take a very long time, but we want to have it concentrated down. If you're going to fail, fail quickly. I mean, we all know that as an adage. But the point is, if you can't figure out whether it's solvable in 3 months, then probably it's not ready to be solved. So in 3 months, if you haven't got a clear direction of where you want to go, and many people will have a prototype in that time, and I know a lot of developers who will have built several things in that space of time, but if you still haven't built something, but you still think you can within 3 months, you'll have learned whether you can or you can't, in which case, go and start again. So the concept is one of a fee, and we're looking at it, we're calling it a scholarship. In many cases, if you're an entrepreneur, you'll be looking for funding from grant funding bodies, maybe the government, but also from grant funding bodies that may be VCs, it may be individuals, it may be groups who are coming together and collecting the fee to see if they can solve the problem. But then there'll be this process of, at the point where we're at capacity, of selecting the best of them. But in the first instance, if you can raise the fee, come along. I'm just infrastructure. So I'm not trying to do anything other than provide you with the capacity you need to try and solve the problem in an experimental fashion.
At what stage of the development the lab is?
The ground is being broken for the building. It's going to be a 6-storey building in Leeds, carbon positive. We're going to be operating the laboratory on 2 floors, and the rest will be for SME innovation space in the normal model to make sure we have that zeitgeist. But the laboratory operates on two floors, and therefore what we're looking for are people to come into those 2 floors when it's built, which will be at the beginning of next year. So there is a 9 to 12 months hiatus while we're building it because it is a brand new building. However, we are currently running proofs of concepts. So we are working with 3 different organisations currently to run them through a demonstrator to show that it works. So there are 2 which are around distributed ledger companies or problems that we're solving, and 1 which is a big data analytics problem. So we're up and running to all intents and purposes, but it's not the grand, rather attractive innovation hub that it will be when it's built. We have people who are saying that they want to offer scholarships, so they themselves are not going to solve the problem, but they want to present problems to the community and say, we want to solve something in the retail banking space, and we're going to offer 20 scholarships or 10 scholarships or even 1 scholarship for somebody to come along and compete for that 1 scholarship and then go to the facility. So there are people who want to do that. There are others who want to solve corporate problems. So the model is there. We have the enthusiasm in Leeds, in the south of Leeds, in a relatively not deprived area, but it's not an area for high economic growth. It now looks like it's going to be, because a local property developer and a property fund have said what we should do is use this as the opportunity to build a digital city. So although we are looking at something which is in the order of 60 to 70,000 square feet of space in a building, they're saying that where you build this is now fit for us to invest in a full city, which is kind of scary because it means that I'm sitting as the sort of a catalyst for massive growth. It'll be about 80, I think it is, acres of space that's being built out, not just as an office park, but as a multi-use space for a digital community and digital city. So that's great, they're doing that, that's a property development play, but then the local authority and the LEP, the enterprise partnership, is saying, well, we'll give you a station. So now there's going to be a transport hub there, at which point, if it's a transport hub, we need to have an uplift for the area, so that means houses, and there are a group of property developers saying that if all this happens, then we will build 5,000 to 10,000 new homes, which fulfills the need for new homes for Leeds. So actually, what I rather like about this is, and I'm just focusing on the problem I'm trying to solve because I'm the fintech guy, right? That's me, that's my job to build infrastructure for fintech. There is this sort of domino effect that's happened. And as far as I know, that the entire vision that's being created in Leeds is probably the single biggest piece of infrastructure in the north of England for some time. The experimental process is so important, and people in financial services don't experiment. They tend to build something and then they build it with the end game in mind rather than testing it and playing with it and seeing. So the concept of a corporate sandbox is developing, a safe space to play, but I don't think it exists yet, because not all the things that you want to play with will be there. The thing that I'm building, let's be absolutely honest here, is a laboratory space, and a laboratory space is for experimentation. I want people to come along there with even a whimsical idea. If you can come along and you can raise the money to come here, you can have the most whimsical idea, and who knows what's going to come out of it. Even whimsical ideas sometimes are successful, so come along, play, experiment. If you're a corporate, come along, for goodness sakes, bring along a team, give them a dedicated 3 months to solve the problem with the kit that's there, and something may happen. So I spend a lot of time talking to financial services organizations, running workshops at conferences that senior executives go to talk to them not so much about how they will use the technology, but what the technology can do. So I will go through what I think are probably the 6 or 7 important things to think about in the fintech space. Maybe it's IoT, distributed ledger, virtual reality, new ways of visualization. It may be peer-to-peer, maybe equity crowdfunding, the network effect. Whatever it may be, these are the things that are happening. How you use them is up to you, and I can give you some ideas. And always there will be, when I'm presenting these to executives or to boards or to people within the industry, there'll always be somebody who goes, like that, and it's that gets me excited, because I say, well, what have you just thought of? Because I know you've thought of an application for the thing I'm just talking about. I want to hear it, and you talk to them and you can see them thinking about how they can use it. So there's a massive education program that needs to go on with people from the industry to help them understand what the opportunities are. So that's the first point. They don't know what they don't know, and it's incumbent upon people like myself, and there are a few of us out there who are doing this, to help the industry understand what the opportunities are.
Shortlisted Productions specialise in the production of business video content for corporate clients. Please contact us for a free quote at shortlistedproductions.com.